Radio Migrante every Sunday night from 9 to 10 p.m. on CHRY 105.5 FM.
Coni Ledesma is the international spokesperson of MAKIBAKA. She is the head of the Special Office for the Protection of Children and the NDF negotiating panel member. So my first question, Tita Coni, is that what is MAKIBAKA?
MAKIBAKA is a women's organization that is a member organization or an allied organization of the National Democratic Front of the Philippines. It was founded in the early 70s, and the founding chairman was Lorena Barros, who later was killed in an encounter in 1976. And the main task of MAKIBAKA is to mobilize women and to arouse women to join the revolutionary struggle. MAKIBAKA is a revolutionary organization for women.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, go ahead, Kuya.
I think that's a really exciting topic to be talking about right now, because in this week there's that 1 Billion Rising event that's happening. But before we get into that a little bit more, maybe you can give us an overview of the situation of women in the Philippines today. So, just an overview of what's happening there.
What you mean of the situation of women in general?
Women in general in the Philippines. So start broad and then we'll go to more specific.
Yeah, okay, yeah, not very broad. It's very hard to, I find it hard to give a very broad picture. And anyway, I'll do my best. Well, women are about 51% of the population in the Philippines. So that would be about half. The majority of women belong to the oppressed and exploited classes of workers, peasants, urban poor, and what else? The other oppressed classes.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that women, aside from suffering the oppression of and exploitation of that the ruling classes imposes on them, also suffer gender oppression, because not they are discriminated upon. It is harder for them to get jobs. They work and still they would care for the children. They have to take care of the household, and that's the thing, no? So that's the general picture. I don't know if that's
So it is actually a great overview of the women's situation in the Philippines. And in connection to that, let's talk about the 1 Billion Rising. So what is 1 Billion Rising?
Well, 1 Billion Rising was actually it has followed the Vagina Monologues. I don't know if you've heard of that. It was written by Eva Esler, I think her name is. She wrote it, and she wrote the Vagina Monologues to try to bring out the violence that is suffered by women because of the violence and all sorts of violence that women suffer. Especially this would be women who have become who are prostituted or who are trafficked, who suffer the consequences of war, as in the war in I forgot the name. Anyway, where women were raped became it was a commonplace among the women. They were raped to satisfy the needs of soldiers. Anyway, the Vagina Monologues tries to show what happens to women and the violence suffered by women. But then after 20 years of the Vagina Monologue, the author found out that the violence continues and even worsens. So she thought of another way where women can protest and express their defiance and their fight against violence that is done to them. And so it's the call for 1 billion women to go out to join each other and have some sort of it can be outdoors or it can be indoors, and it is to dance, to go against and and to sing and to protest the violence that is done against women. And of course, sort of the popular form of violence are the rape, the incest, the trafficking. Those are like the popular forms of violence. But the violence of poverty, the violence of being exploited, of living poverty lives because there is no money, that is a great violence against women because it's ongoing, So the violence has many forms, is expressed in many forms. And that's why it's good that MAKIBAKA is going to join 1 Billion Rising, and many Filipino women all over the world are joining. And I think even the women here in Toronto.
Yeah, here it's happening on the 14th as well.
Right. That's it.
And we're going to talk about that at the announcement section. We're going to post it on our Facebook wall for anyone that's interested in joining. But before we leave, because we have 3 different topics, so we want to get to the other topics as well. So I want to ask about, so you mentioned that MAKIBAKA is a revolutionary movement for women.
Yes.
And maybe you can talk about that a little bit more. What are the revolutionary demands of women in the Philippines? What do they want to see?
Well, for one thing, MAKIBAKA is fighting against the social system that is semi-feudal, that keeps women bound and subjected to oppressive working conditions, and where there is no chance for women to really develop, and the whole country, not only women, but the whole country, because the policies, the Philippines is under the Philippine government policies puts the Philippines under imperialist controls. So this is something that MAKIBAKA talks to other women about, and the task of MAKIBAKA is to arouse, organize, and mobilize women to join the revolutionary struggle, because we cannot change a system if only the men are involved in fighting to change a system. It won't happen. You need the whole population. You need the support of women. And MAKIBAKA encourages women to become involved in the revolution in any way possible, either as organizers, either as members of organizations, and even to join the armed struggle in the countryside.
It's very different from what we hear from women's movements, not Filipino women's movements, but women's movements in general here in Canada. Do you have any comment about the Western feminist movement and maybe any advice?
Equal pay, equal opportunities, equal salaries, those are important demands. So those are very valid. But there's also the other, and MAKIBAKA fights for the same things, but also it goes into deeper thing of analyzing the situation of women in the Philippine context. Why are the lives of women this way? So it's to understand that and to realize that this situation will continue. The oppressive conditions in the Philippines will continue unless women and men fight to change that.
Kayo po ay nakikinig sa Radyo Migrante sa CHOY 105.5 FM tuwing linggo mula alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng gabi para sa mga balita at impormasyong mahalaga para sa bawat Pilipino.